First of all, number one, how to keep your frequency high is to stay as connected as you can to your true self, to your true devotion, to your true connection, what is most important to you. For some, that may be symbolized by the one, infinity. For some, that may be symbolized by consciousness. For some, that may be represented by what feels true for me in this moment, my resonance. For some people, it may be what seems true for them, like almost on a bodily level, like what feels true. For some people, it's an idea or it's a frequency. For example, love. I want to stay true to love. So have something that you would call the highest. Whatever for you is represented by the highest. The highest. I found this to be one of the most effective ways to always keep a straight back throughout intense, super subtle, dynamic circumstances, is to never sacrifice upon that which is most important to you, which is your connection to the divine, however you want to call that divine or that divinity. The divinity within, which is also the divinity without, because there's no separation. So to have that true connection to what is the truest to you. So it can be a thought, it can be an image, it can be a word, but use your imagination to tune into that which is most important to you and let that run your life, in a sense, especially when shit hits the fan. To maintain a high state of frequency, empowerment, in other words, or clarity. So when all else fails, this will save your butt. When you've tried every other technique, when you've tried every other method, when you've tried to raise your frequency and have amazing thoughts about yourself and about the universe, and these can definitely work. They can shoot you right through the roof. But when all else fails, resort back to you and you. Let go of everyone else. Let go of all the circumstances. Go back to your source. Okay? Baseline, most important. Well, most important. Most relevant when nothing else seems to work. The next, I wouldn't say stage down, but let's say when shit hits the fan, but you are still able to manage your frequency. So it's not completely desperate yet. Maybe a little desperate, but it's not absolutely despondent. It's not yet Arjuna style. Then take your consciousness, take your mind, take your thoughts, if you will, take your imagination to a focus that represents true connection to you. It sounds kind of similar, and in a way it is, but this can be more context related. This can be more in honor of your dreams, shall I say. So things that you desire, a state of being that you desire, a version of yourself as an individuated expression of the all that is consciousness that you wish to express yourself most as. Those type of core frequencies that mean the most to you, that are slightly more contextual and personal and relative in nature. Take your consciousness to these ideas and avoid thinking too much, if at all, about anything that gives you a sense of struggle and resistance. What happens, some call this spiritual bypassing. What happens when you do this is you ease into who you are. Why do you feel good when you take your consciousness to certain types of points of view? So point of view can apply to any kind of circumstance. Any circumstance has infinite points of view at its disposal, and which one you pick is up to you. Everything is inherently neutral and meaningless. Words don't mean anything, circumstances don't mean anything, whatever people say to you doesn't mean anything, whatever people do to you doesn't mean anything. Nothing means anything. Does that sound fun? Maybe not, maybe so. It's the truth. Deal with it. If you know that everything is neutral and meaningless, and that everything is completely subjective and you generate your own state of being only, no one else is responsible for your state of being, no one else is responsible for the way you see life, no one is responsible for the way that you feel. You and you alone. May sound intense and heavy, but it's really just a very liberating truth when you embrace this, when you own this. Okay, because if you don't own it, you can't change it. So if you don't want to change it, that's fine. You can play victim to yourself. But if you wish to change it, transform it, ascend, progress, You need to own it. Whatever you don't believe is yours, you can't affect. If you say, well, it's up to them that I feel this way, well, then it is up to them that you feel that way. So you can't suddenly change how you feel unless they change how they respond to you. Does that make sense? Just a very basic example, but happens all the time in everyday life. We automatically project meaning into things, and we forget that this is smoke and mirrors. A game, a dynamic play of energy inside of consciousness that reflects how we play internally with our own beliefs, our own perspectives, our own observations, our own definitions, our own interpretations, our own responses, our own desires, our own beliefs, etc. Since everything is neutral and meaningless, and it's up to you to define what something means, it is therefore up to you how you feel about something. Now, what makes for a good feeling, an amazing feeling, an expensive feeling, and what makes for a bad, negative, or contractive feeling? Anyone, just in one sentence? What?
Belief systems.
Belief systems, but yes, definitely, but what exactly makes it that a belief feels either great or bad? Anyone in one sentence?
In alignment with your higher self.
Thank you. So we feel amazing as soon as our subjective interpretation of what is always going to be neutral and meaningless is in alignment with the way consciousness sees things. And by consciousness, this can be called higher self. You can even go as far as to say source or the one. Doesn't really matter. Or creation or the fundamental principles of existence. There is no other reason for you to ever feel good. You can't feel good about a single thing unless your perspective of that single thing is in alignment with the way higher consciousness would view that thing. Simple, right? Does everyone get that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you.